One instance when you got it wrong and ended up recovering from your mistake.
Oh, I don't know if I ever got anything wrong. I don't know. I got it wrong all the time, and it was the biggest thing is just don't let it freeze you, and be able to reflect on what it is and make the appropriate adjustments to get where the student or myself needed to be. So, and once again, the that was mostly due to having just such great people to be surrounded by, and hearing what they said and just letting that absorb. So, yeah.
I have a much more specific example.
Hmm.
We're teaching picking fruit, and not even realize what I was doing. I was doing the upper and lower bodies in one of the first lessons, and as I'm doing it, I'm realizing, oh, this is the first lesson, and we should only be doing upper body, and nobody knows what I'm doing. And Master Dowd kind of dug me out the first time, but then I did it again the second session. And the hardest part was that as I'm doing it, I start laughing at myself when I realize. So I'm like stifling giggles at myself and trying to like work my legs back down in a way that's not completely awkward, which I'm sure made it more awkward. But yeah. I haven't done it since, so.
Never happened.
Well stated.
I recall, I don't remember the specific example who the student was or which class it was, if it was Tai Chi or it was Jiu-Jitsu. There was a posture that I was taught, and I had done it that way for weeks. And then one day I am teaching that posture, and one of my co-instructors is with me, and they're like, no, 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 this, otherwise this can happen. And all of a sudden it went through my head like, oh my God, why did that person teach me that way first? Now it's being taught the other way. I thought about that for a while, and then I realized, goodness, wait a minute. I should be able to pick that up on my own instead of somebody else telling me, hey, this is wrong. So at that point, I started trying to figure out, okay, even the stuff that I'm being taught, how do I analyze it, use it in my head? If I was going through that in real life, that posture, whatever I'm performing, what would I need to do to look not just at the posture, but I was talking about the periphery, and also the consequential steps that would come afterwards. That was a good point where I learned about being wrong, as far as even if I am wrong, what is the right way to go about doing things? So what is the atonement for it? What is the amendment for it? And even if it's not something that I taught to or if it was something that I was taught to a student incorrectly, and I had been teaching this student for a while, this incorrect posture, and so I had to go through in my head, like, there's a pride issue that comes in. Oh my God, wait a minute. Is it me that taught it wrong, or is the person who taught me wrong? Um, all those thoughts come to my head. And at the end of the day, I realized, you know what? I figured it out. I learned it, that, even if it's wrong, I should be able to pick that up on my own. But
and
then,
I apologize for teaching you wrong.
But the question arose is when that transfer of thought to the students, because I am as an instructor, I should be able to go back and forth, have the yin and yang of those aspects. Now, when it comes to a student who may not have the training of becoming a teacher that I have had, they may never pick it up. And if for weeks afterwards they're thinking, oh, wait a minute, this person has been teaching me wrong posture for weeks now, why should I listen to the rest of them? And that is the more honesty approach that you have to do with the student. And that's when I realized what it means to be wrong on both ends, as the one receiving it, as the one doing wrong to somebody else as well. And all of a sudden, this is amazing, is that's how life is. We go through so many aspects of our daily life, going through these things where somebody may tell us information or something gets delayed or so on and so forth. at the end of the day, it's, you know what, we have to move on from that as well. So to tell the student, hey, straightforward, I apologize. This was I had been mistaken, so on and so forth. To me, that was a big growing experience as far as it's not a blame game. It's more of what needs to be done to grow. Um, you know, if you have children or anything like that, and they're like, "No, I didn't eat the cookies," but you know they ate the cookies.
They got the crumbs all over the mouth.
Yeah.
Sure.
In the bag.
So how do you approach them? I'm not saying this that students are children, but the concept of how do you deal with that as a parent when you know that the student is or the child is being wrong. So that was quite a shift for me as far as learning about I had taught somebody incorrectly, and then how to approach that to the students so they would still be able to learn from me going forward, not just cut me off at that point as an instructor.
Beginning, so I have a problem that if I get something wrong once, it's going to be wrong all the time. So if I mess up somebody's name, even though I know it's somebody else's name, I constantly think of the wrong name before I can.
Richard.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, it was yin yang. Which side was yin? Which side was yang? Because that question always come up. I'm like, it's the right side. So for me, that was always, I would do it wrong constantly because I thought it was the right way. And then, so anyway, all confused in my head. But what happened was when I would do that, they're like, I'm sorry, I meant this. And then I realized that I didn't like that feeling of saying, I'm sorry, I was wrong doing that. So what it did was it made me become a better teacher because I didn't want to give wrong information because I didn't enjoy giving the apology. So it made me start focusing on, instead of just showing up and be like, all right, here's what we're doing. It's like, all right, I'm going to study this week.
Kind of put you in check.
Put me in check. I'm going to go ahead and write a bunch of times that left side is this, right side is this. And then I basically learned to become a better teacher because I didn't want to give the wrong information and apologize about it.
I just think it's a helpful tool to learning redirection, because sometimes the concept of getting it wrong is really not what we're supposed to be focusing on. You know, I mean, that's not the point. Did you have it wrong? Did you have it right? Let's talk about where we are and let's move forward. Because like you mentioned, because sometimes students are like, he taught me this wrong. You taught me this wrong. It could just be you heard it wrong.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's never happened.
You know, where I said it wrong, but I don't know. You know, it could be an interpretation thing. Maybe we were on the other side of the building that day. But let's talk about where we are now. Yeah. And trying to figure out how to redirect, because the other piece of that is once a student gets really preoccupied on right and wrong, then they're going to beat themselves up when they, you see somebody, they're doing something, oh, I did it wrong, I did it wrong. No, let's just keep on moving forward. Let's redirect, find a new place, refocus, however that might be. But I think sometimes that's just the concept of wrong and right. Yes, there's technically a way to do things, but your perspective on that is a big part of it. So
I agree with that. I think just having that continuity of being present and letting past be past and
here we are.
Continue to move forward, because right and wrong, you could, there's so much growth in being present. It's very easy to get stuck on what did I do in the past, what happened 10 minutes ago, but continue to move forward. I think that.
And I mean,
Helps
keep focused
learn
on doing it the way you want to present it. But
It's growth, and it's a different method for folks. So, I mean, you saw the hill coming, and you prep for it, and some of us run into the side of the mountain and think, well, maybe you shouldn't do that again because it hurts. But that awareness, just being self-aware because of the thing that you were doing or were supposed to be doing is important. My short answer is yes. I remember a specific incident, but I know there was a yes in there.
Mine always was, it's so easy to remember the negative. So it's sometimes hard to not focus on it. It's hard to get out of that rut. And Richard really does become Kevin, and Kevin becomes Richard, and you.
Don't know who it is.
Yeah.
In your-
Hey, words that they're part of.
Hey, you.
Young,
It's been ages.